Hello everyone, welcome back to the Don't Kale My Vibe gardening channel. Today I am so excited because it is finally March and we can start putting out more gardening videos because it's almost time to start actually starting our gardens. So I decided to do a video today just going through all of the seeds in my seed box. This is where I keep them. It's just a box I got from Hobby Lobby. I've seen people do it other ways, but this works for me. I'm going to show you guys all of the seeds that I have planted for this year, or I'm going to be planting, and I'm also going to talk about things that I'm not planting this year because I do have some seeds that I used last year that I will not be planting again, and I'll tell you guys why and what I selected and why I selected it. So the biggest difference in my garden this year as opposed to last year is I'm actually going to be growing flowers as well as edible plants as well, and some of these flowers actually are edible, but we'll get into that. I'm actually going to be growing cut flowers so that way I can actually cut my own bouquets. Last year was my first year and I had kind of a more limited space, so I wanted to focus on things that I felt were more useful. So I did, the normal tomatoes, vegetables, and stuff like that. So this year I actually am going to do flower gardens. I'm going to attempt to because I've never grown flowers before, and so this year I'm really not sure what I'm doing. It's kind of an experiment. I'm not sure if the areas that I picked in my landscaping are going to have enough sun, but it's kind of hard to tell because the trees don't have leaves on them yet. So I'm hoping that the area that I cleared out in my front yard is going to be big enough and have enough sunlight, but we will see. But let me just show you the flowers that I picked out, and there's a couple different kinds. So last year I did grow marigolds, and that's because they're a great companion plant for a lot of vegetable plants because they are a deterrent to a lot of pests. So I am going to be growing these again. The only mistake that I made last year in picking out these seeds is not reading the back, because when I think of marigolds, I think of like a small bushy plant, and I guess those are dwarf marigolds, and these ones grow 3 feet tall. So I actually had to put these in tomato cages because they got so big, and I am going to grow these again this year, but this year I just know that they are much taller than I expected. So these are a helpful pest deterrent, so I'll be growing these around my tomatoes and everything. Nasturtiums are also a really great plant. You can actually eat the flowers and the leaves on these, so they are edible. They have kind of a peppery flavor similar to arugula, and also I think they look pretty, and they are also another pest deterrent. And then in my cut flower garden, this is what I'm going to be growing this year. Zinnia, I've heard, are extremely easy to grow for first-time gardeners, and so that's why I'm excited to grow these. I got the mixed color massive Lilliput, I don't know if that's the way you pronounce it, zinnia variety. So it's going to be a couple different colors. They look massive and I think they're beautiful. Apparently they're not that hard to take care of. So I got those, and then I got straw flowers, which I don't have a picture of because it's not on the package here, but they are a very similar color variety. I think they're very cute. They have smaller heads on the flowers, and they're also another tall variety. So these are all kind of big. These are 16 to 18 inches, and then these are 8 to 10 inches. So they're not tiny little flowers. They're actually long stems that you can cut into bouquets, which is why I picked them out. And then something else I wanted to grow. I know a lot of people don't like these, but I love carnations. So I got a carnation mix. It's just the mixed colors of pinks and whites. I think that'll be a nice filler in my bouquets. And so that is what I'm growing in my cut flower garden. So I was fully prepared to tell you guys I am absolutely not planting radishes in my garden this year. I've said it so many times. I hate radishes. I grew a bunch of them last year because they take like 30 days from seed to actually form a radish, and that was really exciting to me as a first-year gardener to see something that is super easy to grow and just like pull things out of the ground and you've got a whole ass vegetable. Sorry, I don't know if I should swear on this channel. Anyway, so I grew a bunch of radishes last year and I ate them in all different ways. I roasted them. I even pan fried some in some bacon grease because I thought it would make them good. What did I do? I air fried them like little potato chips. I pickled them. I did everything. I tried eating them raw in salads, and I just don't like radishes, and that's okay. I am, however, going to be growing them in my squash patch because apparently the smell of radishes can actually deter some pests. So I will sprinkle these here and there throughout my crops, not because I want to eat them, but because, again, pest control. Something I actually will not be growing outside this year from personal experience is going to be lettuce. So I have lettuce butter bibhead, I have arugula, I have romaine lettuce, I have lettuce loose leaf blend, and I have kale. Last year, I focused a lot on these kinds of things, and these were the first things that were completely destroyed in my garden by pests and bugs and stuff like that. I could not keep up with it. I had to keep them under a canopy at all times. Otherwise, they were completely demolished by slugs and other things like that. So last year was a great learning experience for me to know what plants were more susceptible to the kinds of pests that I have in my garden, and it just wasn't worth the trouble. And plus, if you've been watching my main channel or even this channel, you'll know that under my grow lights all winter I've been growing heads of lettuce, and it's been wonderful, super successful. I've been able to grow full heads of romaine, full heads of butter bibhead lettuce, and I've been eating salads constantly. So now that all my plants are going to be going outside this spring, I'm going to continue to grow lettuce indoors, and that takes care of my pest problem. And also I live kind of in the south here in Tennessee, and so we have a shorter growing window for cold weather crops. So once I got the lettuce in the ground last year after our last frost date, I felt like it was immediately 85, 90 degrees, and the lettuce just wasn't doing well in general. The kale got really hard and stiff and woody in texture, and so that's why all of these things are going to be growing inside this year and not outside. And now we can start talking about the things that I will be growing in my garden this year. So I am going to be planting carrots this month here in March. Our last frost date here is April 15th, and you can actually start these before your last frost date. So this is the kinds that I will be growing. I have just this regular carrot variety. I probably picked this package up from Target or something. It doesn't have anything special written on it. It's just a plain orange carrot. And then we have the short and sweet carrots. And then I also have the carrot deep purple hybrid. These ones are really cool looking, and I'm excited to grow them. Last year I got these towards the end of the growing season, and so I didn't get to see a lot of them, and I'm really excited to get these started early this year. So carrots are great. They're a great companion plant, and they also for tomatoes, and then also they don't take up a whole lot of space. So you can grow a ton of them in just 1 square foot of garden bed space. And like I said, that's going to be one of the first things that I put in the ground this year. And I'll be growing them kind of in cycles throughout the growing season, so that way I can have a handful of carrots here, handful of carrots here, and then like a handful later. For something new I'll be growing this year, I have never grown this before. I will be planting ground cherries. I've never even seen these before or had one, so I hope that they're good because I planted about 4 of them, or I'm going to be planting 4 of them outside. You get what I'm saying? But these are in the tomatillo family, so they kind of have a tomato-like flavor, but also I've heard they taste like pineapple. They're very sweet. People make jams out of these, or they just kind of eat them like they're candy. They grow in these little paper husks, and they aren't ripe until the husks actually dry up and the berry falls off of the plant. So I'm super excited to have something that I can eat and just like pick and eat raw instead of turning it into something else. I'm hoping that I like them. So many people have been like, oh, they taste like a fruit, and then some people say that they just taste like cherry tomatoes, which I don't love cherry tomatoes, and that brings me to my next thing. I will not be growing cherry tomatoes this year. So last year I grew a bunch of sweetie tomatoes, and I ate so much bruschetta with these. I honestly got sick of them. I don't like turning these into sun-dried tomatoes because I feel like they don't have enough meat on them. So I was just getting handfuls and handfuls and handfuls of cherry tomatoes, and honestly they are still frozen in a gallon Ziploc bag in my freezer because I just couldn't decide what to do with them. I was putting them in sauces, but I don't like the peels on the tomatoes, and peeling 100 cherry tomatoes was a pain in the ass. So knowing that I don't enjoy processing these, I will not be planting them. Another tomato that I will be retiring this year is the beefsteak tomatoes that I grew last year. These were great. There was nothing wrong with them. They were big. They made a lot of sauces for me. I put them on a lot of sandwiches. A very prolific plant. I enjoyed having it around, but this year I actually did a little bit more research on different types of tomatoes, and I didn't just buy the ones from the grocery store that were very basic. And so I actually did a little bit of research and came up with these. I saw on a TikTok a woman sharing her crops that she absolutely loved, that were her favorites, that she'll grow forever sort of video, and in it she had these, and I had never heard of anything like this before. It is an orange peach tomato. I read the reviews on these on their website as well. These are Baker's Creek heirloom seeds. Apparently they are so sweet and fruity they can actually be mistaken almost for I mean, tomatoes are fruits, but you get what I'm saying, like other fruits or a peach even. People have used these in recipes for like peach pies and peach cobblers, but it's actually just a tomato. I don't know what kind of crossbreeding they did to get it to taste sweet, but I think this is super fascinating. And since I get sick of having so many tomatoes that all taste the same, I decided to do something that I thought would be a little bit different, and I'm really excited to have these. And of course, I also wanted some savory tomatoes as well because I do make a lot of tomato sauces and salsas and things like that. So I actually got these giant crimson tomatoes, and this packet of seeds is the first packet of seeds I've ever had that literally came with 5 seeds. The website that I bought it on, MI Gardener, or My Gardener as I like to call it, which I don't think is right, they actually said this was like a rare seed or something like that. There was a limit of how many packs you could buy, and I thought that seems really interesting. I should get that. So I bought this. I planted 2 of the seeds already because you have to plant 8 to 10 weeks out from your frost date. So I have that already started, and I'll share that with you guys in another video. But I'm really excited about these. They're supposed to be huge and juicy and meaty and all of the things. And I'm hoping if I like them enough, instead of buying another packet of just 5 seeds, I'm hoping I can get really nice tomatoes and then seed save from those and then replant those next year so I don't have to buy any more. And then the last kind of tomatoes that I picked up for this year are vintage wine tomatoes. These ones have kind of a striping to them, which I thought was really nice. I didn't read all the reviews on this one. So I didn't buy this for flavor or anything. It just seemed like a basic tomato just with a cuter pattern, and that's why I picked those up. 2 more things I will not be growing this year. I will not be growing watermelon again this year. Last year I had a successful watermelon plant. It actually produced only 2 watermelons, but it was in kind of a questionable area because I wasn't sure where to put it. But those watermelons did not get very big. I kept actually having female flowers produce a small watermelon, and then it would turn yellow and fall off, which I think means the ground wasn't nutrient enough for the plant. But I did get 2 watermelons from that plant, and they were both just These watermelons have seeds, unlike the ones that I buy from Walmart that are seedless and easier for my family to eat because I do have little kids. And so for me, this one just wasn't really worth the effort keeping it alive. So I'll just be buying huge watermelons from the grocery store or from my farm stand down the street, and I will not be growing them. I also will not be growing these pumpkins. These ones were so successful last year and I loved them, and I might regret doing this, but I did pick up a few different pumpkin variety seeds this year because I thought it would be a lot harder to grow pumpkins. And I was amazed at how many pumpkins I got from just 2 plants last year. I think I probably got somewhere around 6 to 8 pumpkins, and these are a nice edible variety. I think they're all edible for the most part. This one was a sugar pie pumpkin, so I made I made pumpkin purees with these. I made a pumpkin cheesecake, and we also decorated our front porch with them. But these were great. They were just a large plant, and honestly, I think for the size of the plant, I could probably get something that grows larger pumpkins, and that's what I ended up doing. These are my pumpkins for this year. I have the Baby Boo white pumpkins because I thought these would be the prettiest to decorate with, and also they are very small, and they're supposed to be a high producing plant. I also, like I said, decided to get a much larger pumpkin this year so we can actually carve pumpkins. Last year the pumpkins were probably around this size for the sugar pie pumpkins, which was great for eating and cooking. It was really easy processing, but for the kids' sake, I wanted to grow something much bigger, and I think that they would really enjoy it. And since I didn't personally have a lot of squash pests last year, in fact, I didn't really have an issue with squash borers at all, I decided that was something that grows really well for me, and I thought we might as well go big or go home, and so we got the massive jack-o'-lantern pumpkins. On the same subject as squash and gourds, I'm actually going to be growing corn for the first time this year. This is red strawberry popcorn, so this isn't like your normal sweet corn. This is actually going to be made for popcorn, which is great because my kids love popcorn. And since I'll be growing squash as well, I decided to try this Three Sisters gardening method, which you grow the corn stalks and then you put a vining pea or green bean at the base so they vine up the corn, and then the squash protects the roots and gives shade, and it's kind of like a ground cover against weeds and stuff. So I'm going to be doing that method in my larger garden bed, and once I start that, I'll share it with you guys, but this is the kind of corn I'll be using. Also, I will be growing cucumbers this year. Last year I kind of Cucumbers didn't go well for me, but it's because I bought them 50% off from a farm stand as like these plants are dying, come get them sale. And so I think I got maybe 3 or 4 tiny sad cucumbers. This year I'll actually be starting some from seed by myself. These are Wisconsin summer cucumbers. They look kind of like pickles. So since I am going to be possibly making pickles, I decided to grow big mammoth dill this year. This is also another pest control plant. Pests don't really like the smell of this or anything. And also I love dill, and it also grows really, really tall and has big dill flowers on it. So I'll be growing this intertwined with my other plants, and I think that's gonna be great. A few more squash varieties I'm gonna be growing this year since squash has been successful is butternut squash, which I love to eat in the fall, and acorn table squash. Perhaps more than pumpkins, my favorite thing that I grew last year of all time was the freaking eggplant. And I picked that up last minute as a plant start from Home Depot or something. I actually let it live in the cup holder of my car because I didn't have space for it before I got my house. I really didn't think much of it. I didn't eat a lot of eggplant growing up, and I didn't even know if I really liked it. And so once I got that eggplant plant and it started growing like crazy, I kept it in a pot and everything. It wasn't even an in-ground plant that I took a lot of time and care to take care of. But anyway, it grew so big. I got so many huge eggplants, and I decided that I love eggplant. I love eggplant parmesan, little eggplant cutlets, eggplant. I do this like eggplant stuffing that I might share a recipe for with like sausage and fennel and all sorts of delicious things. Eggplant was delicious, could not get enough of it, and that was only one plant. One plant grew so many eggplants, and they were massive, and I really didn't have a pest problem with it. So this year, I will be growing 2 different kinds of eggplant. I have Rosa Bianca eggplant. They look like this. They are kind of small and cute, and then the Black Beauty eggplant, which I believe is the one that I grew last year. Okay, we are almost done. Let's get into peppers. So this year I'll be growing cayenne peppers. I did not grow these last year. I like these because you can actually dry them and make your own red pepper flakes, or you can actually just make your own cayenne seasoning. So this is great because I do own a dehydrator, and I'm always looking for things that I can dehydrate and just save longer. So this will be great for my little seasoning collection that I have from last year of all my own dried herbs. So I got that, and then last year I grew jalapenos. I did start my peppers a little bit late last year. I started all of my plants in March when I could have been starting them in February. So these did not get a ton of jalapenos, and I'm hoping for more success this year. Something else on my list of things I wasn't planning on growing again this year is bell peppers. I grew bell peppers last year. Again, I started them a little bit later than I should have, so I didn't really get a ton of them. And the ones that I did get were really small. We're talking like the size of a golf ball. So I wasn't planning on growing them again because bell peppers are kind of cheap to buy in the grocery store anyway. I don't buy a lot of bell peppers, but since I already had the seed packet and I did my garden planning, I decided that I had space to do something like this again. So I decided to just go for it, and I think I'm gonna have like 2 bell pepper plants, but I'm not super excited about this one. All right, these next 3 are my nitrogen fixer companion plants, which are beans and peas. These are things that I'm gonna be growing for one, because they taste good, and also because they help my other plants. So around my tomatoes this year, I will be growing on a trellis these Wando peas. These will also be growing with my corn stalks in the Three Sisters garden. So I have these. Super excited to have peas in the garden this year. I did not have a successful pea plant last year because I bought them super late in the season, and it was super hot when I planted them, so they shriveled up almost immediately, but I'm going to start those early this year. I did grow these 2 last year. I again started these really late in the season, so I didn't get a ton of them, but I did get a good amount, and these are another nitrogen fixer, so it's good to have these around. And these are the bush variety, so these ones don't need a trellis. They don't have vines. I just have the basic tender green bush beans, and then these ones are actually purple, which is probably why I bought them. Okay, now we are at the bottom of my box, but there were a few flower seeds that I forgot to mention, but you guys did see me plant chamomile this year. I'm actually going to be having this kind of decorative on my front porch this year. I'm also going to be planting it in some of my flower beds because chamomile is another pungent smelling plant that keeps pests away. So I'll be growing this for that reason, but also because I can take the heads of the flowers and make tea out of them, which I thought sounded really nice. I love the idea of a pretty plant that also is useful in the kitchen. So I do have a few chamomile plants planted. Calendula is a medicinal plant that's very nice for gardening. So I tried to grow these last year, but I don't think I spaced them properly and they did not survive long enough for me to see flowers. This year I'm hoping for a difference. This is another one of those things where I was like, I could live without it, but I already had the seeds, so I'm gonna plant it. And then this one I have growing in the house already. This is alyssum. I grew this, or I'm going to be growing this outside as floral filler for my bouquets. So it's kind of like baby's breath. It grows in big white bunches. So I thought that this would be like just a little decorative plant that seemed easy enough to grow since I am already growing it in my living room. And then the last few things I have in my box are sweet basil. I will be growing this in between my tomato plants this year, but I also have basil growing in my hydroponic garden in my kitchen. So this isn't really for me to have a crap ton of basil. It's really just for the pest control and flavor of the tomatoes. And then cilantro, I love, but it bolts way too fast in the summer heat. So I'll just be growing this inside this year. I also have some bunching onions that I've been growing inside as well. Might transfer those outside, but I'm kind of undecided. And then this year I couldn't decide if I should start growing onions from seeds because they take a really long time. So I did end up buying a ton of onion bulbs that are going to be shipping this month from Burpee, I believe. And then I also have 25 tomato plants being shipped to my house, bare root tomato plants that I'll be do I keep saying tomato? Strawberry. I have 25 bare root strawberry plants coming to my house that I'll be growing in the 3-tier planters that I showed you guys in my Dollar Tree haul. I also have sweet potato starts coming, as well as a German butterball potato that I'm going to be growing, and a couple different things that I have coming. I think I have a bunch of like red candy onions and shallots and just a whole crap ton of onions, like too many onions. I might be giving them away to my friends who like to garden in the area because I didn't read the small print again, and I think I have about 300 onion bulbs coming. Anyway guys, that is my what I am growing in the garden this year video. There's a few other things that I'm not going to be growing this year just because I don't like them. Like things like okra. I don't really think I like okra. Zucchini. I don't like zucchini. I don't like summer squash. I don't like a lot of things like that, and that's why I'm just not going to be planting them. So let me know what you guys are going to be growing this year, or if you are living in a different growing zone and you've already started, let me know how your garden is going. It's early, guys. This is why I still have my coffee. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Pretty soon here, we're going to have my seed starting videos as well as my garden planting video. The only reason why I don't have that one ready yet, let me find my journal. Okay, so here is my chaotic gardening journal. I have so many different plans and stuff for where my plants are going to go in my garden beds. And this is... I want to share this with you guys, but it is such a mess. I change it probably on a weekly basis. I'm still figuring out this gardening thing since last year. There was really no rhyme or reason to like where I put plants. There was like some things that I knew about as far as like companion planting goes, but last year I was very new to this and didn't put a well thought out plan together. So this year I'm actually planning like the square footage of my garden spaces and what likes to grow next to what, and like what can't grow next to what, and like what has nitrogen and what needs nitrogen. And it's just been like honestly a headache. But once I get this completely set in stone, I will share that with you guys. But right now I'm just still figuring it out. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching another gardening channel video, and I will see you in the next one really soon.